So Joel and Elisabeth, so how did COhatch start from your perspectives? Like, give us your story.
Well, I can start with this space right here is really the kind of the impetus of how it actually, the idea of creating something started. I know that Matt, way before this space and this building happened, had thoughts of a cool idea to help the city and do some things. But the actual COhatch started because we were working on something two spots away, and Matt asked, "Hey, let me see this space over here." And the owner of this building said, "Oh, you don't want that space. It's an old storage thing. There's tons of stuff here that hasn't been used in like 40 years, whatever." And Matt's like, "No, I want to check it out." So we crawled through a window that was like a haunted house tunnel. You remember that?
Yeah. Right there.
Got into here, and it was full of stuff. You could barely even see from front to back. There was offices in the front, like they were 40 years old, with access from the front. But this was just like a storage. Old stage from 80 years ago. Them doing things in the town on the stage that was right there. But yeah.
Well, Matt, when we were over here doing this, and Matt said, "Here, I want to show you something, see if we can do it or not." And we crawled through the window, climbed out through the roof, climbed through these windows here, and Matt asked, "Do you think we could take this and do this?" And I was looking at this building, and I go, "No, it can't be done. No, we're not going to do this. This is terrible." And then here we are.
Yeah, one of the cool unknown facts, probably the whole thing, is how this was supposed to be a Snap Fitness. We were trying to figure out if we would do both top floors of Snap Fitness, and we really thought it was important to have a street front presence, and therefore, by nature of yanking it all over there, this was open. And then around the same time, you guys were working from home, and I wanted to create some sort of office space. And two or three things happened that made it go. One is the landlord. We didn't have enough money to do it, and the rent was going to be too much. So I sold her on the idea that we were going to help a lot of people, help nonprofits, and she gave us she helped us build it. And I mean, the Zettler family helped enable this quite a bit. Without them kind of giving us early rent breaks that ramped up over 5 years, it probably never existed. And then we wanted to make something that was an office, but I wanted you guys to design it and get free rent forever. I think that's how COhatch started.
It was like, "Are you guys sick of working at the coffee shops at your dining room table?" And we're like, but we can't afford an office. And
Well, I think that's the important thing, right? Is that COhatch wasn't started from a business plan, right? And you see this all the time. I mean, that business plan gets started, it's like going and getting funding and all the different pieces. I mean, this was actually true, right? I mean, I was looking for a place to go work outside of my house and talking to Matt, and all of a sudden it's like I have an office a year later, right? So, I think it's one of those things that, I mean, this actually, when you say we wanted to help people, we really did want to help people. We wanted to work with small businesses, and we wanted to help the community and really try to do that, that's what makes it real, at least from my perspective.
Yeah. That's kind of the how. Some of the why is we're serial small business owners, small business people that we're really looking for opportunities to expand what our total core offering is. I mean, we have fitness facility. We opened fitness facility over in Dublin, and obviously COhatch kind of evolved out of a space of a need to bring community together, bring small businesses together, create workspace, and then taking this dilapidated building and space that really didn't have any other use, and being able to convert it and make it into a beautiful place to work, I think is a testament to obviously Terry and Joel, Elisabeth, and Matt, in terms of the overall vision of what you guys did, which is amazing. So,
yeah, we were lucky enough. We created in 2008. We created a bunch of Snap Fitness gyms and ended up selling those off. But we fell in love with the idea of smaller, one-person employee type in your neighborhood things. And I distinctly remember saying something like, "Wow, if I could just create," I hate running our own, like being adhere to SNAP guidelines and franchise, but if we could ever just create our own concept done today that only had one employee, like be in every neighborhood, that'd be amazing. But something like that will never exist again. It's kind of looking back now, we took the best of a 24/7 gym product in neighborhoods, but I think I know I was searching for something that, all of us really created something that would help us live a better life. And then the whole beauty of it is we wanted to share it with a lot of people. Yeah. And I think that what makes it authentic is that we really needed it, and that we all have the same value system about wanting to help people, but thrive at work, be with our kids more often, take more vacations, do these things. And we just kind of kept pressing into that, and it just transformed into something that it just manifested all of our values into it. And that just resonates with people because I think it is an authentic way to live and what people really want. So, yeah, people forget that it was called Hatch Local,
Hatch Local,
right?
yeah.
And then in another, it started out the same as everybody else's. Like we wanted to create a local accelerator and do some we'll put a few businesses around it. Maybe we'll have some startup stuff. And then I remember seeing that stage over here with the community hall theater where they actually used to do the plays and everything. And then driving to the Outer Banks one day, it's just about quiet time. I have no idea how that's possible, but thought, well, how do we make a social enterprise? Ever since I was 21, 22, I wanted to create social enterprises, but the growing seed, other ones, but we never were able to get them done because we didn't know how. But, how do we use this building when it's not active from 5 p.m. till midnight or all weekends to help people? And that's where the Give Scholarship was formed. Letting people use our space for free as long as they donate to the Give Scholarship. And that was our first couple of nonprofits. The first nonprofit was, I think, your idea with the Boost Scholarship for the farmers market, and having the Old Worthington Partnership in here. And then them bringing in all their events drove more traffic and got more exposure. And it showed a good social enterprise model could work. And that's what really kicked off the energy and excitement of the whole thing. And it's just grown from there.
Yeah, and I think there were times when, you go back to not doing it on purpose, right? If you put the right people in the right places and you put the right small businesses together. So I remember when you and I were sitting at the new Worthington location, and we're literally sitting there, and I look over and I'm like, I literally have more resources, access to resources there, right? And like you said, you work for Parker Hannifin, I work for Accenture and American Greetings, and it's like literally I got more stuff done with small business with just utilizing the network that we had. And it was only we were 2 locations then, so it's like you're like, it was the eureka a year and a half after we had started doing it. So I think a lot of this stuff didn't happen. I mean, again, it wasn't okay, let's figure out how to conquer this, and this. It's like it started happening, and it's real because it is real, right? And I think that's really, none of us are force engineering people to work together, right? I mean, it's a very, hopefully, and it stays that way forever. And I think that's our struggle for growing, making sure they all feel that way.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the early stories, and it's fun to go back and look at the articles, is a group of friends build this thing, and that's true. I mean, it's just fascinating how all of us knew each other, and we were really just good friends beforehand. So, I mean, we met in
long time ago.
Yeah, we were talking about that this morning.
about that this morning.
Yeah. So, I mean, why don't you tell a story about how we met?
I think we actually met. We were in a meeting together at Honda a long time ago, but not that I remember much about it. But
You're saying it wasn't memorable, or?
no, you weren't. I forgot all about you. Just that. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
But at one of the companies where Matt worked, I was doing all the construction for him, and Matt was one of those guys that always liked to get around and go to every place or walk his domain, I guess.
Domain.
His domain where he was.
Let's go with it.
He would walk around
Some
and
call it learning.
talk to everybody,
Master
but
domain.
he pulled me up front and started asking me about, can we build this? I mean, is there a way you could do it? I don't have the budget to do it, but can you do this if you sell this scrap or do this other things? And kind of strange, I told him that, yeah, I think we can get X amount of money out of this scrap material that's in here, and we'll use that to fund it. But I underestimated what we would get out of that, or what all was in there. And I ended up getting 3 times the money out of the scrap, and I built this break area. And what really impressed me was it was not for the company, it was for the people in the company is why he did that. And it was like, I want to have a break area and a cafeteria here because these people way back here have to walk real far to get to it. So, and I went to Matt afterwards, after we got it done, and I said, Matt, here's the receipts from all the scrap we did. I'm about $20,000 more than what I estimated. So here's the money back. And Matt was like, no, take it and get pizza parties for everybody. And then use that money for later. I want to do this and this for these people. So I guess my honesty to Matt, and then Matt's honesty back to me, got our relationship going about his integrity is good, and I'm going to be honest, and he's going to be honest. And we had a good purpose for why we did it. And then I think from there I met you guys, and I made you real mad because I drew all over your computer with an ink pen. We were trying to talk about remodeling an office, and Joel come in with his, what I thought was cartoon characters at the time, not a drawing. And I took my pen and I was trying to show him what we could do, and I drew on his computer. Wow, he didn't like that.
Wasn't it a smartboard?
No, it wasn't, and I didn't realize my pen was out.
I think for like 3 years after that, every time he had a pen close to my computer, I was like,
Oh yeah, he went off on me about that, but
oh yeah, because I go off on people.
yeah, he does.
I've never seen you upset.
But
I've seen you upset, not him.
yeah, and I think that's how, and that was clear back in where Matt used to be, and then Matt would pull us into his office and talk to us about this idea that we could do with a fitness center, and you needed a place to work, and I didn't care.
We pulled you guys in. Well, Elisabeth was in my church group. You introduced me to Elisabeth, I think, through some other friends, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I went to kindergarten with his wife, right? So that's how. Longest
relationship.
Yeah. So we're all connected in various ways, and we met randomly in Minneapolis through another friend. But you went out on your own and created your own company, and it was new. You went from the corporate world to your own thing.
Same thing I did.
Yeah, same thing he did. And I kind of got forced out of mine, and we had COhatch started. But by the nature of you being trying to figure out how to grow, I pulled you into, one of the things I clearly remember is at my old company, we need to do an office renovation, right? And I'm like, we value culture and collision and people and a lot of the concepts we have now. And on a shoestring budget, like $8,000, come design this. And that's what's got really my mind thinking about creating unique office spaces, which then happened to be around the same time we opened this. So we pulled you into Mesh Fitness to design it. And it all kind of led back to all these moving parts is kind of what formulated the initial idea of COhatch.
I think that office project was the first job that I worked on after I quit.
Yeah, it was.
Well, you were still working for Parker Hannafin, right? So I mean,
no, that was a different company.
It was for,
as I affectionately called, the most unethical company on the planet.
Right, there you go. So we won't say which one. But I can tell you, I mean, for me, in 08, I left because basically, my idea was to create a VP or outsourced VP of business development. So I have 10 clients, and I'm working in every single Starbucks or, so I was literally every day trying to find a place to work, or in my house. My wife was throwing me out. She wasn't, that was her domain. So I'm in here having calls and all this stuff. So literally the idea, I remember when we first started talking about it after Mesh, it was I want an office ASAP. How do we get it? And I mean, the office right on the stage was great, but it's, it's one of those things. If you're a serial entrepreneur, you have nowhere to work. Right? If you're just constantly working and you're, and now everybody kind of is talking about it, but in 08, nobody was talking about this stuff, right? It was I had a choice of going to Regis and, getting myself basically a law office and, with no culture, no people, no nothing. So, I mean, this was a godsend when we sat down and started talking through it.
And that, I think, speaks to how it evolved, right? I mean, the idea, it'd be great to come up with this business plan that we had this thing projected all along, but that wasn't the case. I think the accelerator idea, where we had started small businesses in the past, we needed a brand team, we needed an accountant, we needed an attorney, and all these different developments. So that was really the COhatch kind of model. The Hatch Local idea was to help other small business entrepreneurs have the resources, and so it all starts from a need state that all of us had. You needed office space, we needed places to reside, and then it just kind of evolved into this place where now the need state is less about having a brand design team and more about, we need a vacation home in Florida, and we need a theater room, and we need a place to go have a Buckeye viewing party. And so all that kind of stuff evolved into the space and our need state, because we're speaking to our audience, right? I mean, we are the core demographic of who is our members. And so we just look at what our need states are, and then we replicate that and allow other people to.
Do you remember, you created the concept, the term Town Hall 2.0 was yours, right? When we were creating the original website, I think. So describe, what Town Hall 2.0 is, what you meant by that.
Yeah, just that, Main Street is dissolving, right? Everything was going so urban, and now with post-pandemic, it feels like it's moving back out to the suburbs. But everything is so digitized now, and people live insular lives without having any community for the most part. And so the idea was to create this center of gravity, Town Hall 2.0, where you look at old photographs of people having their markets on Main Street in smaller, tight-knit communities, and that just doesn't exist any longer. And to the extent it does exist, it is these gravitational pulls to urban centers, and so we wanted to get back to developing that in a space where it's more authentic with relationships, and you know your neighbor, and you know people, not just saying hello to your waiter that you see at the coffee shop, but actually working and collaborating and colliding, like you've said in the past, Matt, with people that you work and you live with. So.
Well, and I think the convenience factor is huge, right? Like the idea of a co-working space made a lot of sense to me, but it's like it was downtown, so I have to now commute to go to downtown Columbus to go co-work, and I want to go to my kid's soccer game, but now it's an hour drive and an hour back, right? So just the idea of having them in walkable neighborhoods was, that is, you can come in and work for 2 hours, and then you can leave and you can be with your family, or you can go do this certain thing. So it just takes that commute out, which was, a huge piece of this, right?
Well, one of the big transitions for us is moving from an accelerator business concept to this simple, basic understanding that we're all human, right? And what we have in common is not necessarily what we do for a living. Everyone's very much similar and has the same desires and family, friends, and all these different things. So by flipping it on his head, he knows I say I hate LinkedIn all the time, and he's going to tell me I love LinkedIn because it's the best sales tool. Blah, blah, blah. But the reality, the reason I say it is because it's not really who you are. It's only one piece of who you are. So COhatch to me is a place you could be comfortable being all parts of who you are. And that's why I think people will use the words. It's a combination of environments in how you design things, but also the atmosphere of who we hire and making you feel comfortable. It's okay to tell people that you volunteer on weekends, that you care about these things, but you also have 3 kids, you're going through this challenging time, or you're doing this. Like, it doesn't have to be about work. And that's the glue, I think, which makes community. And then I find out you're an accountant, and I need an accountant, so I do work with you, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of flipping it back on a 1940s business, and that's why I like the town hall concept, where, we want to be the center of gravity, the new center of gravity, where if you want to invest in a startup, you can go there. If you want to find an accountant, you want to go there. If you want to have your kid's birthday party, you can go there. If you want to just hang out, you can go there, right? So that's probably why, I regurge on the, are you a co-working space or are you WeWork? It's very hard to explain in a very short window.
And that's the definition is hard, right? And I think the hardest thing is that we don't define ourselves, right? We try to define what we are to the community or what we are, but it's hard to define yourself. And again, people always say, are you an incubator? No, but we incubate businesses, right? Do you define yourself as a co-working space? No, but we have co-working, right? And to me, the easiest way to explain it is that it's the shared model, right? I can't afford $1 million home, but together we all can afford to use $1 million asset, right? And that's when people say beach house, they're like, oh, you have a beach house. Well, no, it's a shared asset that everybody gets to use, and we all get the enjoyment of it. And Matt will say that, if you vacationed in the same home and you might live in Indy, or you might be one of our facilities in Cincy, that you have something in common because you vacation at the same place, right? So it's not that we just want to have a beach house for everybody, or Moby, or all the other things that have kind of hit. So honestly, I think that the idea that we don't define ourselves, we're not telling you that you can't come because you don't have a dog or do have a dog or some other thing, right? I think that's really is the definition of what we are. So that to me is the hardest thing to explain.
Yeah. I think one of the coolest things is when we were trying to create this whole thing, we talked about community. I know community is like a kind of a buzzword. It's kind of overused, but when I talk about it, I try to enforce it. It's actual, it's not just some fluff word. Yeah. To actually think that we are trying to create these collisions with people, to have these conversations and life experiences, to see it actually happen. That was the idea, but then it opens and you see people start to do that and talk and interact and have business together. It was really cool, and it just keeps growing in that way. New ideas are coming up now that we have more ways to do things as we grow, and I think seeing that thing actually happen versus just the idea of it has just been such a cool.
Being able to come back into a site after we've got it done and it's being utilized, and you see the people actually working in there and how they're working and how they're utilizing it, or you see a family that evening bringing in her family. That's really what I look at, is that's COhatch. That's what makes it special to us, is, you know, when you're done with it. And just like when I went over to the library and I see people, they don't know who I am. I don't know who they are very well. But I see them in there, and I see them being able to get the benefit out of it and enjoying what we've done. That really makes it special.
Well, and I think now we're starting to see that next phase, right? Where it's like Ryan Robinson's wife, like I met her at the Worthington Farmers Market. I'm in front, and we were trying to get people like, what's COhatch? I'm like, just come take a look. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, right? And they'd come in and look, and like Ryan Robinson's wife had a surprise birthday party for him, and 4 years later now he's head of culture, right? And like, it was funny because every time I saw him, I'm like, you need to come work for us. You need to come work for us. You need to come work for us. And one day Matt goes, hey, let me introduce you to Ryan. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, it's a small world the way that things happen. And like, he had a podcast and did other things, but now he's, you know, helping us with expansion. And I think, I mean, every one of us has a story like that, right? Where, you know, this isn't just about us.
We're a real life example of how community and collision work. So we're actually using the same system. We met investors, we met half our employees, we met other people through it. And now it's like the power of collision. Now I know people. The reason we went to Tampa is because our network expanded through people that we know through Tampa who had. It does work, and I think true relationships always work. Being authentic and obviously being uber talented and making good decisions and everything else. I think people don't realize that the amount of skill set in this room and the talent level that people have and different experiences is very unique. And then by having opportunity working with Chris and John and some of the other people and bringing Tanya on and other people, it's like the amount of talent we have in the organization and always keeping the same value system is what's really accelerating it. And it's addictive. I think it's the hardest part about growing COhatch is you have so many opportunities to do so many things, and it's like it's just picking the right things and not getting too out of control. But I think you say it a lot. You know, our job is to build spaces, tools, and resources and inspire people through our spaces, tools, and resources and programming. We let our members be active parts of the growth. And I think that's the engine which grows it, is letting, if you're a company here and you want to grow and you're passionate about small business or training people on something, we'll let you do that. You know, go do that to all of our members because you care about it and you're better at it than we are. And I think that's the engine of what helps drive a lot of this stuff. And what I'm looking forward to getting back to is people, you know, get back to normal here soon.
Well, yeah, and it is. It's like our members, we've been fortunate, right? Because most co-working spaces create some sort of programming or some sort of content. The stuff that we do is a cherry on top as far as I'm concerned, right? The members utilize our assets in a certain way, and it is our job. So, you know, working with a title company and saying, hey, you have one office, but really you can utilize and expand all across Ohio by using all of our different spaces. And like teaching people that like you can have an event here and here's how you do it. And like, you know, it's teaching people how to use the spaces for themselves. So, you know, and again, I think there's been a lot of companies that have grown from our business, right? And not just, I mean, there's been some that have grown with us because of us, right? I mean, if we grow and we are buying more from them, that's great. But there's been a lot of good, you know, companies that have grown, and I think that's a testament to how they're using it, you know, the right way. And everybody has a different way to do it, but you know, I mean, you can't say any of them are wrong. They're literally doing what they need to do to be successful.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's hard to define, right? I mean, there's just everyone's got their own use case for the model, and we don't want to be prescriptive. We don't say you need to use it for co-working or meeting offices. I mean, if social functions are the best way to grow your business, come have a birthday party or have a fantasy football draft or something. And that's, you know, I think that's where we get into like the cross currents of the traditional co-working space. Everything is just very siloed and delineated, and where we have allowed and enabled our members to kind of define the use space for themselves, that has precipitated a lot of the growth that we've had and success.
Yeah, I often describe us as like, I really want all of our members to feel like for like $60 a month or $70 a month that they own millions of dollars of real estate, have access to more than they ever possibly imagine. Now it's us teaching them how to use those things and showing them that there's other ways of doing that. Right. And, you know, I think that COhatch is part co-working space, part future chamber of commerce, part timeshare and part like club all in one. And that's the unique part about it, is it could be different things to different members. I mean, I love the members. I have some of my best, Mark's one of my favorite members. He's retired, he's older, he comes in here, just to be around people and to talk and to have relationships. And there's some people that have bridge club meetings and nonprofit events, and there's some people that literally just grind out their startup and raise money. It's just fascinating to watch. And people always ask me, like, who's your target audience? And I say humans. So,
Yeah.
and then my second favorite one is who's the majority of your people that work in this space? Well, it's the demographic of Worthington. Like, there's some startups, there's some accountants, there's some single parents, there's some retired people. Like, and it's probably around that distribution of things. So, it's, people don't believe you when you say it, and then it's, it is that.
Yeah. Well, in the shared economy, I mean, so we came along, and it's not like we were pioneers, right? We kind of embraced the shared economy. You've got Uber, and you've got Airbnb, and you've got WeWork, and all these brands that are leveraging the shared economy. But where we pivoted is all those other businesses, they grow on scale. So you build a bigger building that has more square footage and doesn't allow the membership base to have that unique offering, to experience it as a retired person. It's like, why would a retired person go to WeWork, right? Yeah. But whereas we have, because we are in the communities and in the local neighborhoods, we allow this use case to expand beyond what just the traditional growth and shared economy prototype is set for. And given that we were able to expand that offering, I think we do talk to a much wider swath of audience than what other more vertically integrated shared economy businesses like to leverage.
I think we all tie that, right? Because at the end of the day, like, I mean, I know Matt says, like, I don't sleep sometimes, right? Because you're worried about money, or you're like, and again, I'm not as much now as in the beginning, but like, all of us are that way, right? Every business that I've ever been a part of growing has been guerrilla marketing. Well, and it is. It's like, so I don't believe in going in and basically like going in, and raising $100 million to prove a business model out that doesn't make any money for the first 10 years, right? Like, that's just not inbred in me, right? Like, it's getting out there, it's guerrilla marketing, and it's doing it yourself and not going into debt before you start. Because, I mean, that's what we're seeing. In the pandemic, you've seen how many co-working spaces that got caught with their pants down, right? Like, that's where.
Well, I think it's we haven't talked about it, but I think there's so many ways fulfilling for us that's addictive to be a part of it. Is one of my favorite ones is simply we get the opportunity to restore some of the most unique buildings that hundreds of years ago, like this was designed to be the town hall, or that library was designed to be an iconic thing. And where the world today doesn't value that, a lot of times they tear it down and build a new thing. We get the opportunity to restore it back to its glory, and it takes it's twice as hard, takes a lot of love, and I freak him out a lot.
It's so personal when, like in Springfield, Matt had called me up. I don't remember where I was at. Matt called me up and said something about we could go to Springfield and take this very old building, it's hundreds of years old or whatever, and turning it into the market and have a COhatch in here. And I said, no, we're not going to Springfield for one. You know what Springfield's like? And Matt well, that's kind of what our purpose is. And then I called him back later. Yeah, we have to go to Springfield. COhatch is exactly what Springfield needs. But to be able to take these old buildings that's hundreds of years old and hasn't been habited in for 15, 20 years, and we give it another 100 years, that's so personal and so rewarding. And then when you come in and you look around at the building, and I remember this, and every little nook and cranny and how it was. And I remember fighting with Joel and Liz about how they want to do this. It's impossible, and okay, we pull it off. And that to me makes every site personal. Every little part of it is personal to us. And to be able to come back in and see people utilizing that building and getting that out of it, that's huge. That's huge.
And Joel and we're really in a unique position because we live a mile away from the very first location. So our personal lives and our home and everything has been impacted. We've gotten to see it firsthand because when we come and walk the market on Saturdays, or, when we were worried about little shops on the strip not making it. Worthington was a thriving community, but COhatch made it better for sure. We watched businesses, we watched coffee shops double in size, double in business, literally. I mean, we watched it. Like, since we came in, there was so much new community and traffic coming to this area because of COhatch. Our house a mile down, I'm pretty sure, has been indirectly impacted in value by the COhatch over these last, what is it, 5 years, 6 years?
The COhatch?
It's the definitive
The
article.
original
It's
COhatch. I don't know.
That's not part of your brand standard. I think you just,
Really?
I think on tape you just violated your
I
own.
think you're right.
Yeah.
But you bring a good, like a great point. Like, it was funny because I did the zoning board committee. You were out of town. You were in Disney, right? So I do, like, for this place, and we got in front of the Worthington Council, and basically everyone's like about the idea. They understand it, and everything was good. You had already done all the work, so literally all I had to do was like talk for like a little bit, right? And then they basically said, well, what about the parking issues? And I'm like, if you look at a downtown, a cool downtown has parking issues, number one. Number two, we didn't know at the time that we were going to fill up the back parking lot from 9 to 5, or, it's the times when people aren't using a cool downtown. And like, if you look at it, there's realty companies that are taking the best real estate, and they're not driving in the right amount of people. So like, if you look at our events, I mean, thousands of people come through, to Worthington downtown to use the Worthington Inn at the time, which has obviously now gone out of business, but the Whitney House, and to go to all the different restaurants. And you see the Worthington Farmers Market brings people anyways, but like, it all helps drive during the times when it's not a Friday or a Saturday night, right? And I think that's really what like neighborhoods need. They need this type of concept that people can, instead of driving downtown to walk into a 50-story building, they come down to a walkable neighborhood, and we discussed this a million times. Go over to Grader's and get ice cream after. Go over and get Dewey's Pizza, or do something where you can cater inside that actually helps the community. So it's like,
well, the grassroots part of what we do is if you could inspire people and you could build an A+ something and take more love and care to it, and then design it better, build it better, it just sets the bar higher. And you see it in Springfield, all the places around is starting to get bought now, and people are starting to do restorations. And just since we've been here, I mean, I think all the storefronts have been redone. So you drive things forward and you inspire people to be better, and not only like in their shop, but also in life. And I think you want to show like it is okay to, what's nonprofit you support? Well, I want you to volunteer. It just inspires people we help people move a little bit. They still have to do their part of doing it. But I think that's a lot of the stuff we do is we inspire people to think about, oh, well, that is a theater room. I should do this party, or I should schedule more vacations with my kids because it's a good idea. So it's building those things and inspiring people to use them.
Well, and then you got the backwards, right? I mean, it's like you go to Dublin and they put $1 billion and build a pretty cool space, but then the old town starts to get, dilapidated a little bit. So like, we're going in there and basically like redoing the pub, which was, or the Brazen Head, which is now North High, but it's like, it's back to what it was, and that was the first building that they redid downtown, downtown Dublin 20 years ago. So I mean, literally, and then you go to a mall and you're like, well, why would you go to a mall? It's like, because it is a walkable neighborhood, right? And like, all these things are, things that we've learned over time that, I mean, they're not things that you inherently think about, but they hit you and you're like, oh yeah, like it's a good idea. And Terry's like, no, that's stupid. Wait, no, that's actually good. Like, I like it.
Well, some of the coolest stuff is you get to do things that everyone's always wanted to do, but now I want to restore this building and make it look different. So it's like, you don't want your house to look like this, but I could build and inspire you and make the new location in whatever town totally unique. So like, you have this engagement, like, what are you going to do next? Or how can I use this one differently here? It's addictive. Like, it's not cookie cutter. I think that's one of the hardest things about us is scaling in a non-cookie cutter way, which takes a lot of our energy and a lot of our bandwidth, and selecting the right team to grow it and working with them. But that's kind of one of the biggest challenges. But
it's such a subtle point. Like, we don't do a lot of internal branding inside. I mean, obviously that's intentional, right? We want each location to be very unique and not mark up the coffee cups. And I know Ryan and I'll argue for a little more branding from time to time, but
that's pretty clear. Walking billboard, there's nothing wrong with it.
No, but if you want to have some local unique flair, you have to make that decision, right? Like, you have to decide, do you want to have this like Starbucks brand on the edge of every corner, or do you want it to feel like a local place that I go and I get to have my office that's
It
not
also helps
corporate?
people, they feel like it's theirs. They don't see this big logo everywhere. We love hearing conversations with members where they're talking about their clients coming in. And it's kind of like when we used to work at these cool design firms, the business development people would tell us, if they got people like in the door to pitch the project, they would close like 85% of them because they could see how cool this. It's the same kind of thing here where, people come in and see where they work and they want to be part of it. So it helps their business and get customers, and it's cool to hear those. We hear them all the time. Yeah.
It's the top 2 or 3 things I hear about this space. Usually, when I'm sitting there, is that it's I feel at home, I feel comfortable. The credibility, we get a lot of credibility by being here, and I just enjoy the atmosphere and the energy of being around and not by myself. So those are like the top couple that I hear. And it's just a testament to like the personalization. And I think if you put the amount of research you guys do and now the extended team does with designing and figuring out the history of the community and putting subtleties of the history of the building into it, besides calling Dublin the Slick, which is your worst idea of all time. But
The lick.
the slick. Yeah, it was terrible.
We almost worked something in yesterday.
That's the beauty. You
I
probably,
wasn't a part of that name.
Yeah.
That was not mine at all.
You could probably put some subtle thing and I won't notice it, but
it'll get
that's the.
Joel's finally mad. It's good.
But there's the dovetail, right? I mean, because we get some of the Ellis Island, give me your tired, give me your downtrodden, give me your disease type spaces, the equivalent of, there is a speakeasy vibe. Like, we are in the second level of a 100-year-old building right now that didn't have any use for 40 years, and now we've turned it into this. And so there is that, you're kind of cool if you know how to get there type of a experience, but it's subtle, and that's the flip side of not having an overly branded space that is much more corporate. I mean, you don't want to become like Regis at all, do you?
No, oh my God. Listen, I mean, my feeling is this, right? Terry will say it, right? Like, Terry sees, everyone has a different lens, right? And like, Terry sees like the build out and sees all the work you guys do and all the front end work, right? And Matt does, obviously, he has to organize everything, right? Like, I don't see it until I walk in and say, okay, what's the story look like? How do we sell this? What are we going to do with it? So like, it's almost like I look at your lens and I'm like, oh man, like, what you guys do is it's artwork, right? I mean, and you think through it, it's like, you can't fake this, right? And again, it's like every single crack, crevice, and like, every time I go to a new space, I go right to the bathrooms, right? Because even the bathrooms are redone, which again, like, it's an added thing that, like, it's funny. You walk in and you're
I
like,
don't think
there's
your best
artwork.
quote ever is as soon as I go to a new space, I go to the bathroom. But
Right. It's one of the greatest things, because it is. And then, like, obviously, the kid in us, right, where we're like saying like, hey, I want more video games, I want more pinball machines, and like, you build it for your 8-year-old self, and it's a unique lens. So I can tell you what you guys do is art, and then obviously, our side's easy.
Yeah, well, and it's the character. I had this story of
I don't have to do anything because people just want to come right in, right? It's
Larry Bird in the old parquet of the Boston Garden, when it was called the Garden, right? He knew all the dead spots, and he knew where you dribble and not, and where he'd go for a steal, because he knew he was intimately acquainted with the local experience. And now it's TD Garden Center or something where everything has been sterilized and there's no dead spots. And I think that you lose something when there is that bland vanilla, everything needs to be the same experience. And so, yeah, there are, when you hear little creaks in the wood and
we
stuff.
can show you where they are right now.
You know them. This is the garden.
And I can tell you why they're there.
And I think our members too, like, how many times have you had members come in and they're like, well, how do I take a phone call? Well, every single space has a place where you can hide and take a phone call. It's a question of, are you working here enough to know where that is, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Our
like,
favorite spaces are the ones that are like you explore and you find these little nooks and crannies.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing that 4.5 years, October 1st, 2016. One of my favorite parts about this building is if you go on the whiteboards in the meeting rooms, the very top it says "Write on Me." That was my handwriting on the first day of opening, and it still hasn't been taken off on a whiteboard marker. Yeah. And when someone does erase it, they're fired.
we should spray it with like some clear or something. It's going to go sooner or later.
But it's, I don't think people realize that, like, the very first day I was the only employee and I sat at that desk, right? So yeah, I was completely sold out on it. 90% pay cut first day, show up, and I just think we remember, like, one of my weirdest memories is that build a new website. You helped me build that, right? You helped me build that, and we used to get steady traffic coming into it. I'm like, okay, this is gonna work. And then, this is pre-open, have some people coming in seeing it. And there was about a 8-day period I had no inquiries coming in at all, and I'm like, this ain't gonna work. Like, no one likes us, no one, whatever it is, right? It's like, and I started getting all depressed about it and trying to figure out, okay, this is freaking me out. And then I go to find out that the website got disconnected, and there's this big inbox of like hundreds of people who wanted to talk to us. And it was like this roller coaster. Like, it's just that starting something. I think it's like almost, this wasn't like a well-funded, we all scraped together the money to put it. It wasn't a well-funded thing. It was we built it and iterated it from scratch over and over again until we got it to I think almost like our expression of who we were. And then it took a lot, and then it finally, and then it just, cities really understood it, and they started dragging us places, and Worthington asked to do a second one, and Delaware asked us to do a second one, and then the CEO of a $1 billion company flew in to see us about Polaris, and then it started going from there. But it's kind of surreal to think. Every once in a while I'll sit back there and just sit there and answer the phone and do stuff.
I think the scrappiness of how we got this first one done, I mean, that's part of the brand, and we try so hard to push that into when we grow, and that's a challenging thing to keep that scrappiness and how it gets built, because Elisabeth and I know every half inch of this space with you, like how we're going to finish stuff out, and keep that as we grow.
Every half inch that we're working on, I'm calling.
But to keep that scrappiness is such key to what we're trying to do. And I think we've kind of figured it out, which is really cool. It's definitely a different way to build spaces and do things, but.
Well, in that first year it was fun, right? I mean, I know I had our regroup office up here, and you guys were here, and like Matt was. I mean, so it's like all of us were here trying to figure this out, right? And of course we needed to use it for business and other stuff, right? But it was like, I remember walking in and like I see Doug over there. He was one of our first members, and like every time we'd close a deal, I'd be like, ring the bell, give to the Give scholarship, throw 100, throw 20, like whatever, and like we'd scream and yell and like whatever. It was just fun.
I remember after the first one, I started working on business plans of scaling after the second one, and I go to your house, and I think you probably were maternity leave or something. I can't remember exactly why I drove over there, but I'm like, I really think we could build 10 of these things. And you looked at me like I was the most dumb person on the, really? Like you could, like, no way. Like, I'm like, I think we could scale this thing. And it just,
it seemed crazy at the time.
Yeah, it seemed like, no, we can't do that. I'm like, we're going to give it a shot. So then we went from that to, I think as of right now, I think, what do we got? So 11, I lose track. 11 open and 15 under construction, and 4 cities, 5 cities, and more to come. So very blessed.
And that's exactly right. And I mean, getting to scrappiness and I mean, overnight successes are never overnight, right? I mean, except if you've got like this VC fund that you're able to raise $100 million, and we don't want that. I mean, we believe that we're stewards. We're called to so much more than making money and making a profit. I mean, there's a purpose behind it, and having you sit behind that desk, and now as the CEO of the organization, that you were changing the coffee and doing the dishes on a daily basis. I mean, that you can't replicate. You can't just come in as a CEO and start bossing people around and controlling the narrative, because you lose that authenticity, and you have credibility with both members as well as the entire team, because you've been there. And
oh, trust me, I still get members still to this day email me about changes to their membership, like I was a community manager 5 years ago. So I'm like, I tell them over, please contact someone else to do this, and it's just that personal relationship, so they know the owner, and it's like they sent it to me. I'm like, geez, oh man, how many times do I have to tell you not to email me
We're
about
out
it?
of coffee, Matt, please.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of a story that when you were speaking at that financial event, and again, it's like, I mean,
My blunt style.
Well, yeah, your blend style was great. We're sitting there, and Matt goes, "None of you guys know us, right?" And you're like, "Well, because 97% of you wouldn't take money from." And I was literally, I'm like, "Oh, dude, like,
Not how to raise
you
capital.
literally like grabbed me, like, I'm like, all right, dude, yeah, he said it.
I think
it's
I
cool."
heard that wrong, yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're like, I mean, it's true, right? And it's not to say that it's like, I mean, there are so many. If you look at what everybody's doing, and you can see with the design lab what we're doing differently down there, right? And like trying to provide access to people. Like at the end of the day, we're all capitalists, but none of us are like greedy. And I think that's really the answer. Just because you're a capitalist doesn't mean that you have to be greedy. And you can do good things with your money, and you can try to help like the economy. You can try to help the right people. So it's like, how do you create community events that actually help small businesses and not, accidentally just order everything on Amazon? You have to go out of your way to be a good steward of small business, and it's not easy to do. And again, when you have a community of people who are all kind of doing it, it becomes self-serving, right? So,
Well, it starts with our mission. It's strengthening communities and improve people's lives. And we, to this day, in our charter, it says, "I'd rather have thousands of locations that help people and make $1 than one location that makes $1 billion," right? And in essence, if you act like that, the output's always, you have to be profitable to grow it, but we don't run it that way. We run it as a way to impact communities and people, and I think that is how you're successful. So as soon as we start to, one of my favorite sayings is generosity grows and greed kills. So as soon as we stop being overly generous with how we do things, I think that's where it starts to slow down. And
It seems like everything we've ever done from the start has been to benefit somebody or some place, whether it's a community or people or organizations, more than, I don't think I've ever heard any of this family talk about getting rich or anything like that. It's always been about helping somebody. And that goes clear back to when the original story, when I met Matt, about how can I help by building this or doing this right from the very start. And I think we've carried that at every site. And then even the contractors that come in to build the COhatches that we are, my subcontractors and stuff like that, I always tell them to build to the finish. It's not about just building or putting in the lights or putting in the electric or the mechanical or whatever. You build to what Elisabeth and Joel designed. That's what you've got to look at to put in this receptacle. They have to understand that, and that's.
I love seeing. I don't mean to cut you off, but I love seeing the contractors. Yeah. They have like their heart is in it, and they're excited to show us things that a normal electrician would be like, yeah, I'm just doing it. But they're excited to show us like how they ran that line, and
they understand based on they've seen, like when we go to Dublin, we have looked at. I've shown every one of the contractors what the final image, the renderings that we've got, so they understand what it is. And when you go in, and most contractors bring in electrical prints only. Well, that I get on them right away for that. They've got to know what the mechanical is, what the fit and finish is, and everything. So they understand what the image is. And they're building COhatches. They care about COhatch because, and they'll even say, well, the person in this office, they've got to be faced this way. I know they got it set up to be faced this way, or he needs better lighting here, or whatever. They care about what's going on. And that's what makes it personal and special when we have that. We're not trying to just build buildings and spaces to put people in. We're trying to give them an environment to be in.
We definitely don't rush things or build on speed.
I'm in no hurry.
We do it until we get it right. So
That's right.
Now, right after we leave here, he's going to say, hurry up and double.
I'm surprised we allowed you to be here.
I got to
so it's a lot of, so what do you think's next? The future?
future of COhatch.
I mean, I
got
think
the 10.
One of the
Yeah.
I mean, I think the future is. I mean, it's driving it to. I mean, listen, we have good partners that are raising money and building out in a mission that in my mind, I mean, I don't think we can ever not do operations and keep the culture and keep that, like, trying to drive that. Because I mean, no matter what we do, if you have 500 locations, it's like there's always going to, in theory, be an education process of how you use the space. But like you look at Indy, and I mean they've done a great job. Cincinnati's done a great job.
Well,
so.
I always stop and like people always say companies need to do more. Companies need to have a higher value system. Companies need to be involved in diversity, inclusion. It's a big topic right now. But I always come back and say companies aren't thing. They're just a thing. They're people need to do things, right? So I think it all starts with us is that we've done a terrific job of hiring great people that want to help people. When I tell people that most of the things I look for is infectious personality, people want to be around, and a service, that's kind of a service-minded heart about it. And then that's all of our partners and all of our employees. If they could do that, they are COhatch's people serving and doing, right? And I think obviously we have to build footprints and do stuff, but I think as long as we keep that going with our DNA and culture, I think we'll be, continue to grow. And I'm looking forward to like being able to innovate further in whether it be digital marketplaces or showing how there is this physical world that exists, that relationships need to be built. But I could use technology to not replace the physical world in relationship, but to kind of accentuate it and glue people together at a different level. So I'm hoping we can continue to innovate technology and service, be the champion for the little guy. I think we're all a small business, and like I view us as a small business movement where everyone got kicked in the teeth this last year or two. If we could always unite and you link up the people in your neighborhood. I always start saying, is it Mr. Rogers or Sesame Street? Who are the people in your neighborhood? Mr. Rogers. Yeah, that's gonna be our new theme song.
No, it's Sesame Street.
Is it?
We are the people. In
I
your
think it
neighborhood.
is Sesame Street.
Wow, I'll go in the other neighborhood.
I was thinking, won't you be my neighbor? I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
I mean, listen.
I think that's why it worked either way.
We're bringing back the '70s. It's retro.
Yeah.
It tells you
It's back
again,
to your
generational, who the age
I don't know
demographic
because
of
that
who
was all
started
before
it.
my time.
But I think you said it, like it's not about a number of places. It's about how many communities we can go to. And I do think, like the first time Matt said to me, we need 20 locations in a city to do it right. I'm like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like 20 locations seems like a lot. But honestly, it's local. So like New Albany needs to have a COhatch, right? Hilliard, Grove City, like Gahanna. I mean, you can think here we already have 10 and you're going to start to add in, there's at least 4 or 5 more cities that it wouldn't even be,
It's 26 actually.
There's 26 that we're going to have in Columbus. Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
map plot.
So, yeah.
Well, and to your question, multiplication without compromise, I think is kind of the goal, right?
Yeah,
And,
absolutely. That's a good way of saying it. Yep.
I mean, what other brands are there that have maintained? Like you grow to a certain point. It used to be cool to get an Amazon package to deliver to your door. Now you look like a pariah. You're killing the environment because these boxes are. You're also emboldening the richest guy in the world to spend more money to send people to Mars.
yachts.
Yeah, buy more yachts and maybe the Mars thing will turn out to be a good play, but it's not helping a whole lot of people on Earth right now, okay? And so the question is, like, how can you continue to grow but do it in a way that is, how can you scale in a way that still maintains that integrity of who you are and what your DNA was all about? And I think that's a challenge for us every single day to kind of wake up with that mindset.
I think to have Columbus and this local market for us as like, we've talked about it as like the gold standard of trying new things and creating things to add on what we have and testing it out. And if it works out, that's how we grow beyond just what we have now, whether it's new ways to do the Give scholarships and all that, like to test things locally, prove it out, and then grow it is such a cool, I think, thing for us to be all right here figuring it out and making it happen.
I mean, I'm excited for the tools that we now have at our disposal to help small businesses from an incubation perspective, right? The partnership we have with Zell Capital and what we're doing at Ohio State. It's like, to do it a way that is not greedy, right? In a way that is real, right? And it's like, you start to bring in different organizations that don't already own. And again, nothing against organizations, because I mean, Columbus has a great fabric of entrepreneurial, innovation, and we've had a number of unicorns. The city's done really, really well with that, but just to do it a different way, right? And to do it where we're not beholden and we're not like owned by some specific group, just because they have some purse string that they own over you, right? The minute you do that, you lose the ability to really act in the right way.
Yeah, it's like the WeWork story. That's where they started going bad. But like as we grow and our brand grows and our influence grows, it's like we have more power and we have to be good stewards with that. And I think that's the fun part is like we did this with very little resources. Give us some resources. As long as you have the same heart, we could do a lot more. And I think that that's what I'm excited for with the Gateway or development and giving back to people.
I don't think that, we go clear back to our beginning and where we were and how we say, well, we started this in late 2015 or 2016. My personal opinion is why are we here, and what really started this is how we started happened way before we ever met each other. I think it's from somebody stronger than us brought us all together. And if you look at how we keep moving forward with every step, it's an influence from someone more powerful than us. And he's going to keep taking us.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, we're very, if you really look at this group and then add Chris, John, Tanya, Ryan, all these other people,
how we met.
It's a very unique, like, we all do different things really well, right? But the value system's the same. And like, I always talk about, when I speak a lot now, it's like work with people that amaze you, and you all amaze me in different ways. And well, sometimes.
I mean, I'm amazing. It's fine.
It is amazing. You amaze. I always give him
You
crap.
amaze me a lot.
But I can't do what you do, and I can't do what you do, and I can't do what you do, and I'm never want to do what you do. That's just way too much work for me. And then that's the beauty of, like, we were assembled to do this thing, and I don't think any other group of people could have done those things the same way. And I think now it's like smart enough to realize I do not want to do what some of our other partners do to scale. Like, they're great at doing that. Let them do that. Let's hire other people who are great at doing this, and let's hire other people. It's like, let's be great at what you're great at. So I think we've been good at that so far.
We've expanded our team with great people.
Right.
I wish I knew some of them.
Well, and it is.
Don't know very
it's
many
the
of them.
Michael Jordan way, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, don't try to change you into something that you're not. Try to actually take what you're really, really good at and allow you to go the freedom and the flexibility to go do that. And again, like everyone says, I mean, you can't manage the unmanageable. You can do all these things, and all of us have, the things that people will say, good, bad, and ugly, right? But like, at the end of the day, all of us want to do the right thing, and that's really what's important. And again, if you do that, I mean, you end up getting a good product.
I think one of the things that's been really great with our partnership working together is that even though we all started out and we've talked about this a lot, like how incredible that we all had access to each other. And like you said, we all had really unique, diverse talents, but how we've also all kind of converged in some of that. I mean, my designs are millions times better because of how much Terry has educated me and how much better I understand construction and buildability, and it completely impacts the way that you think. And I was not well aware of that at all when I was at a commercial design firm. And I mean, I definitely don't have a great business brain or whatever, but I think we've all pushed each other a lot, and we've all made each other really a lot stronger. I mean, Matt, you're like you think like a designer a lot of times now.
The creativity, he's going to start
Everybody's
walking around
learned
in a painter's palette and a
computer
beret.
skills. I've taught you guys a lot about computer and my ability to be in the office and Zoom and Loom and
Taught us a lot about bacon.
yeah, that's right. I've learned a lot about tools from Matt and how to stay quiet from Ryan.
I mean, I taught you how to grip your tools. I mean, I gave you something.
Regrip them?
I think we're digressing now.
Yeah, I went back.
Digesting or
Well,
digressing?
I think
He tried to squeeze in a little sales pitch.
I wasn't trying to squeeze the
the
sales pitch. I was
Yes, it
trying
was.
to. I took his pink hammer and turned it into like something that they would never
don't
take
bring
away
that
from.
up.
Got the pink hammer.
But he's got the pink hammer. I mean, come on.
Poor Delaney.
Well, it's been a joy to work with all of you, and it's 4.5, 5 years in, and a lot more to go. So, anything else you guys want to
Good ride.
talk about?
I really have to pee.
And with that.
And with that, that's how we end it. Good work.